From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Now.
And when we come back in a moment, our look at the spelling bee will continue with a look at a journalist who's really covered it behind the scenes. We're back in a moment. And welcome back here, everyone. Tonight, the nail-biting dramatic finals of what is a sporting event in its own right will air right here on ABC. The Scripps National Spelling Bee has brought kids from around the country together to compete for the title of top speller since 1925. The bee has fascinated and inspired filmmakers, playwrights, and author James Maguire, who joins us now this morning from Washington to talk about his book, American Bee. You are in Washington, right, James?
I am indeed in Washington.
You are in Washington, all right. I know you split your time between Baltimore and New York City, and you wrote this book over the course of 2 years, following contestants from 2004-2005. What inspired you to do it?
I'll tell you what really drew me to this story was there's an incredible natural drama to this story, because these kids study, for months on end, sometimes even for years on end, and finally it comes to that big moment where they walk up to the microphone. It's one small human against one very large challenge, and the question is, will they be able to do it or not? No second chances. So I think there's an enormous amount of drama in that particular moment.
Cabotinage.
Connuit.
Flasson.
Provolutic.
Carcinomancy.
Vicissitude.
V-I-A-C.
T-A-N-A-G-E.
G-L-A-S.
U-S-I-N-O.
L-U-T-I-C.
Is it the idea of an elimination contest that brings us to the table to watch this and enjoy it, or is there something more at work here?
Well, certainly there's the nature of, this is, reality TV at its most original. We go round by round. We get to know the competitors as they compete. And, of course, unfortunately, some of them are eliminated. But, the other thing that really, I think, draws us into this is that it is such a slice of Americana because, there's kids from all over the country, some very working-class kids, some very affluent kids, every ethnic group. And, when you look up at those 275 kids, who are at the National Bee, that is what America looks like.
And these kids are really, at the core, as different as the words they spell. When I look at the number of kids that you followed and how different they are, where they've come from, and what they strive for, let's talk about Jamie Ding, for example, a 12-year-old from Grosse Pointe, Michigan.
Right. Interesting thing about Jamie is that his parents immigrated from China, and actually they speak Mandarin Chinese around the house. So if you can imagine a kid who normally speaks Mandarin Chinese but is so good at spelling that he's actually a top speller, it's really pretty amazing.
And I know the subtitle to your book says the culture of word nerds, but in many ways that's a stereotype, and I know you point that out in the book. And
right.
These kids defy that in some ways.
They really do. It's a much livelier bunch than you might imagine. For example, I think about Carrie Close, who's also a top contender this year. And, Carrie sails when she's not working on her spelling. She's a very competitive kid, also a very athletic kid. So it's not like they're all just, poring over their word list all the time. But, of course, they are serious studiers.
Virago. V-O-R-A-G-L, Virago.
You describe one 8th grader as geek chic.
Geek chic is definitely a compliment. The kids, they form almost sort of their own tribe. They get to know each other over the years. Sometimes, the 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, the repeaters, they'll email back and forth, and it's sort of like their own little clique they have together. It is sort of, a geek chic.
When you look at the number, and I mentioned this at the top here, the number of people who've been inspired to document and write about the Spelling Bee. You look at the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. It was a Broadway show here. Spellbound, the documentary that drew so much attention. Why are we just catching up to it in this way?
Well, I think it took a while. The ESPN coverage really, made a big difference. It helped, grow interest in it. I think really what broke through was the documentary 2003, the Spellbound. But again, I think the thing that really brings it to the forefront is, the drama of that moment. One kid gets on stage, and, there are no second chances. Will they make it?
You could argue, though, that with the rise in popularity of the Spelling Bee and so many more people looking in on it, there's a decline in our ability to spell, especially among certain kids. Testing is showing that. How do you reconcile those two things?
Well, You know, it's funny. I've heard mixed reports about that. One of the people I interviewed for the book was a professor who's taught college for many years, and he claimed to me his students actually spell better than they ever have.
Really?
Yeah, I believe that or not. Obviously, there's a lot of very casual spelling in terms of email and text messaging. But to be sure, you know, these kids are not the absolutely average kids. I mean, this is an elite group of kids who've taken it upon themselves, you know, to study every single day, often 7 days a week. You know, they study word roots, you know, Latin word roots, Greek, French, Spanish, Italian. So, I mean, this is not, you know, your average 7th or 8th grader.
Yeah, and one of them, in fact, one of the contestants who you document in your book actually studies the Bible each night before bed.
Right. He gets up in the morning and he has a Bible session, and then at night he also has a Bible session. So he's a very studious Bible student. He's also a very studious speller. That's Marshall Winchester. He came in the top 10 last year, and very much wanted to win. Had his heart set on it, but you know, didn't quite get it. But you know, he really was a great competitor.
Griffonage. G R I F F O N A G E. Griffonage.
We're hoping to all tune in tonight on ABC to watch the finals of the Scripps National Spelling Bee. As you point out, it's been a tradition since 1925, now getting national coverage, and we appreciate you joining us this morning. Your book is American Bee, the National Spelling Bee, and the Culture of Word Nerds. James, thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot.